Honestly, it's taken me years to get to the point where I can say that because it's a very shameful thing. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Anna and today we're going to be diving into a little bit more of a serious topic. I honestly don't have a plan for this video. Without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so y'all know by the title of this video, we are talking about mental health. I'm not going to go into details in this video about my story in particular, why I've suffered with mental health issues. That's a whole separate video that I am going to film someday, but I'm just not quite ready for. I've dealt with depression, anxiety, and PTSD for the last almost 5 years of my life. Basically what happened was when I was 14, a series of traumatic events took place within a 5-month period, and all of my mental health issues, all my depression, all my anxiety, and then obviously PTSD are linked to trauma. Had that trauma not taken place, I would not have dealt with any of the issues that I did and still do deal with. All of that stuff kind of happened. I fell into a very deep state of depression. I was 14 at the time. I didn't know anything, honestly, about mental health. I didn't know anything about depression. I didn't know anything about anxiety. I had never heard of PTSD. All of that was very foreign to me. I was just in a state of depression for a prolonged period of time. It was very easily a year to 2 years. Just the life was sucked out of me. The only way I know how to describe it is I was really living like a robot. I was very numb to my feelings. I was very numb to anything that was going on. And I have learned now that that's actually an automatic response to trauma, because trauma is a very sudden thing that is very, very painful, kind of all at one time. And your body's kind of automatic response, it's that fight or flight thing. Your body's automatic response, your brain's automatic response is just shut down and cut it off because it's so bad and it's so deep that it's easier to just kind of turn it all off and numb yourself to it. I also kind of was at a place of I didn't know how to feel it, and there wasn't anyone around me that was willing to help me learn how to feel it in a healthy way. And so I was just drowning in immense amount of pain, pain to the point that I didn't think I could live anymore, pain to the point that I didn't want to live anymore. I did become suicidal, and that's a very scary place to be in, the terrifying thought process, because it's like there's two different voices going on in your head and you're not sure which one to believe. And I was in such a place of pain that I was really willing to do anything to get out of that pain. By God's grace, somebody noticed and stepped in just in time, and she saved me. She became a lifeline to me. I was dependent on her for a period of time because I knew she was the only one keeping me here. Once she finally stepped in, we started talking pretty much all the time. She would take me out to lunch pretty much once a week for probably 6 months. Basically gave me counseling and therapy, which she was trained to do because I was in a position where getting medical help getting formal therapy, it wasn't an option. And I'm lucky enough that she gave me what I needed. And I honestly think it was easier for me in that situation because I did love her and I trusted her. I had known her for about 3 or 4 years at that point. I call her Mama J, so we're just going to call her Mama J. Versus talking to a counselor, which would have been a complete stranger to me. I don't think, honestly, that would have been beneficial to me. So that was kind of how depression took its course on me, and it took 1.5 to 2 years to kind of get out of that. I want to touch on a little bit of like the anxiety part. It's more of it's a circumstantial feeling. It always was, and it still is a very circumstantial thing if I'm placed in a position. Normally it sends me into a panic attack. It's gotten much better now. It's definitely a circumstantial anxiety, but it's always tied to the trauma. And the thing for me that's different than a lot of people is my mental health is directly tied to a traumatic experience, which makes it almost harder to deal with because it's not there all of the time. It's very much on a trigger basis, which is what PTSD is. So if you just look up like what causes PTSD, which I didn't know any of this when this happened to me, and it took someone telling me, hey, I think you have PTSD, just based on what I'm seeing, to recognize it and to learn about it. And so when you're in a stressful or dangerous situation, your body responds by producing hormones and chemicals as part of the fight or flight reaction. Usually when the danger is over, the body goes back to normal. But when someone has PTSD, his or her stress response system doesn't switch off as it should. And so that's the thing for me that people don't understand. If you have PTSD or you think you might have it, research it. That was for me. Someone said, I think you have PTSD. And I was like, what the heck is PTSD? Like, what? I looked it up and it was like symptoms, like whatever. And I was like, this describes me to a T. And that was something that I had always had a hard time with because I struggled with depression for a season, and then I have bouts of anxiety, depression, panic attacks that are very short-lived. Because it is so short-lived, I even struggle calling it that, especially now knowing it's actually a post-traumatic stress response that my body goes into for a period of time until I'm able to process kind of out of it. PTSD is a constant. Like, I live with it every day. I'm going to live with it every day. And I wake up every morning not knowing if something will trigger it. That's the thing that people have to kind of learn about me when they're close to me. And I've gone through a lot of hard things in different relationships and friendships that I've had. And early on, when I didn't even know what PTSD was, but I was dealing with it, I lost a lot of relationships over it because they didn't understand, and I didn't understand either. And so I would do things, I would overreact because I would go into this mode, and like it says, it's the fight or flight response, and at that point your brain is on autopilot. That's what people don't understand. With PTSD, it's something will happen, and to somebody else it's like, why would that trigger it? But to us, it's like it switches like that. Our brain goes on autopilot, it goes into fight or flight, and it freaks out. I know I've heard a lot of people because my brain has gone into that, it's gone into fight or flight mode, and I can't shut it off. There's nothing that I can do about it. I've had to explain that to people before it's happened, after it's happened with them. I just had to have this conversation with a friend. Like, I can't control when that happens. And I need you to understand that. And it's not anything like on them, and it's not anything on me. It's something that I can't control. And it's something that most of the time, once people understand that, once I explain that to people, they're able to be like, oh, like, okay. Be so much more gracious towards that. So that's what's so important. That's what's been so important for me, is I have to vocalize, you know, hopefully even before the situation comes up, of, you know, my mind can shift into this autopilot mode literally instantaneously, and there's nothing that I can do I know what has to be done to turn it off. That's another thing, is it's not one of those things where it's like it happens and then I'm like, okay, off. But it is one of those things that when I recognize it happening, I do know what I have to do. For me, that is normally calling somebody else, asking somebody else, because a lot of times it'll be I'm questioning something. I'm like, I know this isn't true, but my mind won't stop telling me it is. And so I need someone else to say, you know, no, you're right, that's not true. And a lot of times the person that I will turn to is Mama J, because she has been with me through my entire battle, and I have changed. You know, I've changed in the last 5 years. What I need has changed. And also, like, I have grown. Used to, every single time any little thing happened, I immediately had to go to her. Now, it has to be something very, not very severe, but it has to be something a little bit more up there for me to need to go to her. If it's something small, I can turn it off myself now, because I can recognize, hey, my mind has gone on autopilot and I have to turn it off. I have to go through these steps. I have to write these things down. It's like reprogramming my brain on a constant basis. But there are circumstances where things have gotten so bad, still to this day. I would say it happens once a month at the most, but probably more once every other month or once every 3 months, that I get into a place that's just so incredibly bad that I have to call her, and she is able to turn it off pretty much immediately. There's a series of questions that she asks me. I know some of them and I don't know some of them, because like I said, my brain is on autopilot, and so it's an out-of-body sort of thing of it has to come down from that. And I don't want people to be like, oh, you're making this up, like this is overcomplicated, like this is weird. And I'm not gonna lie to you, it's very weird, and it's honestly terrifying. I can't reconcile what's going on in my head and what's also going on in my head, if that makes any sense. Like, it is terrifying when I'm sitting there being like, I know it's not true. I know it's not true. I know I'm overreacting. Like, why am I thinking this? You know, there's that part of me, the sane part of me, speaking that. But then there's the part of me that is freaking out, that is panicking, that's being like, oh my gosh, what is happening? Dealing with PTSD is different than dealing with any other mental illness. And I mean, every mental health struggle is different, and I don't want to discount anything, because I mean, I have friends that deal with different stuff than I do, and I've had to learn to be respectful of that and understand that. And then they've had to do the same for me, and I'm never going to discount one thing over another, be like, mine is way worse than yours, or yours is way worse than mine, because they're all hard, and they're all something that we have to deal with on a daily basis. I do think PTSD is not talked about. I mean, I didn't even know what it was until someone blatantly said to me, you have PTSD. And I'm like, what the heck is that? I didn't know what it was. And so if anything in this video, like, I just want to shed light on that, because it is something that I deal with on a daily basis. And there's always that part of me of, you know, is something going to trigger it today? Do triggers happen very rarely? Yes. There's really nothing you can do about it except to learn how to turn it off. You know, Mama J's really good at, and one of the reasons I always go to her is I know if I call her and she doesn't answer the phone, she will immediately text me. Like, I called her the other night, not because I needed anything, just because I was, like, bored, and I was like, oh, maybe she's free and we can talk about whatever. I don't care. She wasn't. She was busy. But I called her. She didn't answer, and I was like, okay, she's going to text me in 3, 2, 1, and then the text came through, and she said, hey, what do you need? You know, and that's one of the reasons that I do always go to her, because I know that's where her mind goes first. Most people, their mind doesn't go that way if I call them, but her immediate response every time that I call her is always, is it happening? You know, I would say that it's probably actually that 20% of the time that I call her. You know, most of the time I don't call her because of that. But even still, that's always her automatic, is I just need to make sure that that's not it. That's something really important that I would say, if you deal with it and you don't know how to turn it off, like, figure it out. Vocalize that. Like, that is what has saved me from a lot more hard, is I know what needs to be done when I get into that space, and now I can do it. You know, used to, I didn't know, and that made things a whole lot harder. But now I know exactly what I need, and I know how to get it. It's definitely what makes it where I'm not just surviving anymore, but I can thrive and I can live my life. And I don't even live my life in fear anymore of it happening, because I know if it does happen, I know exactly how to deal with it, and I know exactly what I need to do. And that makes such a huge difference in your quality of life. I know it's so hard to be vocal. It's so hard. That was why, and honestly still to this day, why very few people know this about me. I can count on my hands, on my fingers, how many people know this about me. I don't know why, but there is an element of shame that comes with it. And there shouldn't be. There truly should not be. And, you know, for me, I can even look at my situation and be like, God gave me this experience. God gave me this story that caused this. And I'm still ashamed of it. I'm here to tell you, like, I know it's hard and I know it's scary to speak up, to ask for help. For me, it took 6 months. It literally took me getting to the point of death. I'm not exaggerating. It took me getting to the point of mental, spiritual, and almost physical death. I was dead inside, and it was just a matter of time before I was going to be done. I was going to do what I was thinking about doing. It took me to the point of death to speak up. Please, please don't get to that point because it's miserable. Don't wait till that point to speak up, because someone will listen. Someone will believe you, even if you don't think so. You just have to speak up. Filming this video has been so hard, but I also know it's something that somebody needs to hear, because speaking up is hard. What's harder is living like that, because it's not living. It's just surviving. And God didn't design us to survive. He designed us to thrive. I know this was a long video. I know this was a serious video. If you made it this far, thank you. If you've struggled with this or any other mental health, I'm praying for you. Please speak up. So please subscribe, like, comment down below. I would love to go more in depth into this if you have questions, anything like that. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to live in grace and love with grace, and I'll see y'all in the next one.